Hi friends, how's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to another Wednesday. I hope you're doing well, and I hope the weather is nice wherever you are. And yeah, I hope you're having a good week so far. Here in Canada, we had a long weekend because it was Thanksgiving on Monday. GHP! Hi, how's it going? Thanks so much for subscribing. I appreciate you. How are you doing? It's always fun to see people in other streams and then see you in my stream and other streams. Neato girl, how's it going? If you were at a pen show or a pen event or a stationery event over the weekend, let me know how it went. If you were at the Empire State pen show or Bungu LA, or elsewhere, just, having fun with pens. Work is work, JHP. I hear you. Work is work and has to be done. It's one of those necessities, isn't it? Unfortunately. Well, unless you love your work, then it's fine. But, and also if you're going to a pen show this weekend or a pen event, let me know. And always happy to chat about it if you want to throw it in the chat. Hi, Moon Sprite. I'm working with listening to you. Glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too, even if you're just listening or just hanging out in the background. It's all good. At least you're here. At least we're all here. At least for about 7 more years. Oh, they'll fly by, right? Hopefully. Let's hope. I feel like years go by really quickly, whereas days kind of drag on sometimes. But we're almost at the end of 2025, so I don't know what's happening right now. I was at Van Ness Pens this weekend. Awesome olive octopus. Yeah, I saw some photos over the weekend of the pen meetup. FOMO, always. Even if it's a small meetup, I'm like, I wish I was closer. I wish I was more local. I'm going to the Gentleman Stationer's mini pen event at his store. Oh, awesome! Yay! Is Joe still doing renovations and updates to the store? Like, is there enough space and stuff? Because that's awesome. But yeah. Also, Pelican Hubs is next week, which is also exciting. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to take. Because I only have one Pelican, so it's gonna be kind of like, here's mine. But I do have a few inks, a couple, and then I have a couple of sample inks. And then I have a bunch of like other inks I guess I could take, right? Like, what else do you take with you to like a Pelican Hubs type of event? That would be so much fun to be able to do that. Yeah, I know, so awesome, right? Well, while we chat and catch up, today is going to be pretty chill. Like I said, this past weekend was a long weekend. Plus, my girls had an extra day off from school on Friday, and so I had a 4-day long weekend with my kids, which was super fun, but also very full on. And so yesterday I was kind of just in the mindset of getting back into routine and catching up on all the things. But I did want to stream today, and I did want to do just some painting, just talking about inks and other things, stationery in general. So yeah, feel free to chat and throw in topics or questions if you have any. But in the meantime, what I was going to do was use up some of my ink samples or little bits of inks that I have in my ink vials that are now running very low. And so I kind of wanted to just use them up because then I can wash them out and put different inks in them if I wanted to. And so I have quite a few inks. So if you've been on or joined my streams in the past, you'll know that I have these ink vials that I just fill with, like if I get a new bottle of ink, sometimes I put a little bit of ink in a vial. Or if I have an ink sample, I'm running low on something and it's not enough to throw into a pen, I'll just put it into an ink vial and I number them and label them on a piece of paper. And I have them close to my desk so that every day I can just grab an ink vial, a glass dip pen, and I do my daily sort of drawing practice. Or if I want to paint then I'll grab a few ink vials and I'll paint with them. So I've done this before on my stream. I've also done it on YouTube videos and stuff like that. So if you're here and you're kind of like, what is happening with the ink vials? That's what this is. And every once in a while I run really low, right? So I like to use them up and then kind of refresh or renew my ink vial stash. So yeah, I have only one Pelikan Moon Sprite. Yeah, still waiting to be delivered to me by Endless Pens, so I don't have one to take to the Pelikan Hub. That's okay. I assume that other people will probably bring their Pelikans and also other pens, I guess. So all of you are very excited about seeing them again this weekend. Awesome. New showroom for TGS should open tomorrow. That's cool. Vanessa Newton will be in the original space. I don't want to focus on work this week is monumental. Yeah, you know what? I feel you, Olive Octopus, because I think it has something to do with the changing of seasons. Or just, you're nearing the end of the year. I personally feel a little less motivated to do anything. Like I have, to-do lists and tasks and like even creative stuff. I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm dragging my feet a little bit. And so at least with this stream, I'm like not forcing myself, but like I'm motivating myself to, you're all here. So let's do a little bit of art and creativity together. But yeah, I feel you. It's like hard to like just do anything really. I feel like hibernating like a bear. You have a token Pelikan. Maybe that's what it is. I have a token Pelikan. Like when I went through the phase of just trying different types of pens to find the one I like, I found a good deal on an M205 and I thought, you know what, I don't have one, so I might as well just try it out. And while I love the nib, it writes so smoothly and it's actually quite juicy, which I like. I know a lot of people are sort of, iffy about how juicy and wet the Pelikan nibs can be. But I like it, and so for me it's fine, but I don't know. I just, like, I have one, so I think I'm good. I think it's one of those situations, so. But I'd love to try the different models, especially the higher end ones, because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would get one, but we'll see. I have two M100 series, one M200, and lots more cheaper Pelikans, but I can't say that they're anywhere near my favorites. Yeah. They're more relics of when I was in my cheap pen phase around 20 years ago. I hear you, GHV. Yeah, I mean, I'm good with just one, like I said. So if I try any other ones, or if they come out with a design or a pen body that I really like, maybe. Right? But I don't know. I can't say that I'm drawn to them like as like one of my favorite pens. So, yeah. So let's do a little bit of painting and we'll keep chatting if you want to chat about anything, really. Last week, I painted with watercolor paints in my Cosmo Air LIght notebook. This one is from Galen Leather as Cosmo Air LIght, which is discontinued. I don't know if they have any more of these notebooks available, but so I got this a few years ago, but I haven't really used it because I'm not really drawn to, it's also blank, so I'm not really drawn to it as a writing notebook. But I tried a little bit of painting in it and I quite like it. And I love that when you paint in it, it doesn't bleed through. So it actually handles paints really, really well. So this is what I did last week on my stream. I used watercolor paints and quite a bit of water. So you can tell by the warping of the paper, right? That it took the water really well. And so I wanted to try it with, or I wanted to use fountain pen inks this week to paint on it as well. And kind of compare and show you how it handles fountain pen inks when you're painting with them. Because I know it's fountain pen friendly paper, so you can write with it. or you can write with fountain pens and it should be fine. But let's do some painting in it as well. Let me just put this to the side. And I have my trusty Galen Leather everyday book that uses Tomoe River Paper, which is my go-to for, it's also blank or plain. It's my go-to for painting with fountain pen inks. Mostly because it handles it really well. So even if you see ghosting or even a little bit of bleed through to the opposite page or the back of the page, I don't mind. So I only paint on one side of the paper. But I love the crinkle of the paper, but also I love how thin it is. And so I don't feel like it takes up too much space. It's portable because it's standard TN size. And so yeah, that's my kind of go-to paper and book. But I did want to do a couple of paintings today trying to use up some of the ink. So let's try and do that. The only one that really means anything to me is my M100 Stormtrooper. Oh, awesome. It got you into this hobby. So yeah, if it has sentimental, memories attached to it, I totally get that. It'll always be special. It's like my bright pink Lamy Safari, which is like, it's such a great beginner pen, and it's very much beginner. And it's so bright and vibrant, so it's fun. But it's one of the first fountain pens that I got as an adult, getting back into the fountain pen hobby. And I just find it so fun, and I'll never get rid of it, right? Because even if I may not use it again, it always has that sort of memory attached to it. So, and we do start somewhere, right? We all start somewhere. My Pilot Custom 74 just showed up. Oh, awesome, Needle Girl. Yay. That's so cool. What nib did you get with it? I hate Pelican pens. They take my money. Franz. Hello, how's it going, Franz? It's been a little while. Were you at Bungu LA? And also you sound like Bart from Zodiac Pens, who loves Pelican. Soft medium. Oh, awesome. I can't say I've tried a Pilot soft nib. Though I did try a few of the tester pilots at pen shows, right? Because you do, especially if they have them all out. Oh, maybe I have tried it, but yeah. Is that your first soft nib? I wonder how soft the soft is versus like the regular medium. I'd love to compare those two. So I'm going to paint with these inks, and I'll let you know which ones they are as I paint with them because I have them written down. So this one is TCMC, TheCoffeeMonsterzCo Forgotten Iced Coffee. So this was one of the more recent ones from TheCoffeeMonsterzCo with Esterbrook. And I did put some ink in here, and I think I forgot about it because a lot of it, like the water evaporated. And so this is kind of, I feel a little bit more saturated than probably, yeah, it's very dark than what it actually looks like. So Forgotten Iced Coffee, forgotten in my ink files, more like it. That's okay. So yeah, if I added a little bit more water, then it's probably some closer to what the original ink color actually is. But it does look a little darker, I think. I have a soft platinum, but this is my first soft pilot. Yeah. I'd love to try a soft gold nib. I just talked yesterday to Eunice and Paula from Little Craft Place. Oh, they went out to Bungu LA and said that it was really good. That's awesome. I love these little stationery, not little, but I love the stationery events that are popping up that are actually quite popular. So it's great. It's great to see stationery events, you know, happening in places where there is a lot of interest and a lot of people actually going out to these events. So that's awesome. There's a lot of support. Sadly was not at Bungo LA. Yeah, you saw a few pics and videos. I did too, Franz. It looked so fun. It looked like a nice venue. Like it looked like spacious. I'm sure it was busy and packed, but it looked like a good setup. So hopefully, I hope it did go well. But I haven't really seen too much in terms of reviews or recaps yet. So we'll start to see that, I guess. But yeah, yay. Yay for new pens. The Pilot 74 is really nice. So I'm just adding a little bit of water to some of these inks that have been sitting in their vials for a little bit. So some of the water content probably evaporated and they'll be a little bit more saturated, but that's okay because we're just painting with it. And I'll just keep adding water as I kind of go. This one is a really nice teal. It's Dominant Industry, Les Falaises Étretat. It's always like such a long name that's in French, so you know, great French practice, but can't say I know a lot of Francais. But it is really nice teal shimmer ink. In terms of shimmer ink, I don't think Dominant Industry has a lot of them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I only have a couple maybe shimmer inks from Dominant Industry. But the ones I do have, I really like. I guess it's their Pearl series, they call them, but that's the ink Bart and I became friends over. The teal? That's awesome. Yeah, it is such a nice color. Teals and blues are just like my fave. I feel like I'm drawn to them. So if, you know, someone has a nice teal or a blue, I'm in. This one is Ferris wheel press, the Ribbiting pond. And I like this one because I think it's a it has two shimmer colors in it, I think. So kind of like it has duochrome. I forget what the shimmers are, but it's very, very pretty. It's a nice shade of blue as well, because it leans a little bit tealish. So it's not a green teal like the Dominant Industry, but it's more of a blue teal. Why did I not see you on? Did you not get a notification, Indy? Sometimes Twitch does that. That's pretty blue-green, yeah. The Google machine says there are at least 19 inks in the Pearl series. Thanks for checking, GHP. I was like, I'm actually kind of curious how many they have. So that's awesome. That's good to know. $19. I must not. Yeah, I guess weird. Sometimes I get Twitch notifications and sometimes I don't, but it's kind of odd. I just snuck in here. I just sneakily turned on live. It's a fantastic ink. Dominant Industry does a great job with their shimmer. They do. And maybe that's why they only have 19. Because, you know, not everyone has to do all of the shimmer inks. And if you do want to add shimmer, you know, it's like, do it well. And do it with a color that it feels natural to have it with, I guess. But yeah. This one is Ferris Wheel Press Galeforce Green. So it is very dark, and I think it's just because a lot of the water evaporated. So I'm just adding a little bit more water in there. But also I think it's just like a dark foresty green, maybe like a green-black sort of color. So let's see. Yeah, it's very dark. It's more like, leaves a little gray too. It's interesting. All right, so far we've used some dark colors, but that's okay because I'm bringing in some lighter shades. So then we have like this one. This one is Tom Studio Peaches and Cream, which I got at one of the pen shows. I think, actually, I think I got it at the SF Pen Show last year. And I found that it was a little bit too light for me to use in a fountain pen because it's sort of like a peach color. It's called Peaches and Cream, so I knew what I was getting into. But it is kind of a muted color. So I found that it was not too easy to read if I put it in a fountain pen. But I love painting with it because it has the peach vibes. And so it sort of lightens up. It sort of lightens up your painting if you paint with it. And it's great as like an accent color. Not to say that you can't put it into a fountain pen. Like if you're sort of into muted, lighter fountain pen ink colors, then this one's a great one because I do like the shade, the peachy vibe. But for me, I like using darker colors, more legible because my eyes aren't great. So I have to be able to read them, read what I write. Sucks. Hi, Bauhaus. How's it going? They're not typically heavy, high shimmers compared to some others. The Pearl series, yeah. I agree. They're not like URng and Ferris Wheel Press definitely sort of take it on the shimmer ink fronts. But I also like Robert Oster. Tends to be pretty good. Yeah, in the Dominant Industry, I like the Pearl series. I think they've done a good job with shimmers and the shimmer inks that they have. I know I have several Pearl series that are Cult Pens exclusive, some from the Kickstarter. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. And I also have a sample of, I guess when the Dominant Industry does collabs or exclusive inks, then they might do shimmer as well. I have a sample of Ginger Chicken, which is the Dominant Industry collaboration ink with Wonder Pens. And someone shared they had like a limited run of Ginger Chicken with shimmer in it. And so I think I used that for one of the paintings I did maybe a couple weeks ago. But it's a really nice ink as well. It wasn't too much shimmery, like it wasn't too overwhelming or anything like that. But it was just a simple sort of orange ink with, I think, orange shimmer or gold shimmer, something like that. So yesterday I found out one of my friends is interested in finding a good pen too. He went to Michael's and the options were, oh, Michael's, yeah. What kind of pen? What were the first two brands you mentioned? In terms of shimmer inks, Waring-Ghoul and Ferris Wheel Press. So I use a lot of Ferris Wheel Press ink that have shimmers. Well, Ferris Wheel Press puts out a lot of shimmer inks. So most of the inks I have from them are shimmer inks. From Waring-Ghoul, I have a few. I've tried out a lot of Waring-Ghoul inks. So I had samples of them. And I quite like them as well. And then I also mentioned Robert Oster does shimmer inks. And Diamine has some shimmer inks, I think. And they've probably done like collaborations as well, so. This one is L'Étretat Prune. So it's Parisian, it's a French or Parisian, I guess, brand. And a pen friend brought back a small bottle of this ink, and it's really, really pretty. It's like a cranberry or really dark sort of pinkish red. I added some water, so I think it's a little bit more pink right now, but it's a little darker. It's not a shimmer ink. It's just like a really nice, it's a really nice pink. And I need one more paintbrush. Let's see. And then the last ink I'm using is Orange Kicks by Amarillo Stationery. Shout out Gamma Gamma. And if you had your eye on some of the Amarillo Stationery inks that have been sold out for a little while, Eric did a restock on his site, like Rosa Mexicano, which is such a beautiful magenta color. So yeah, grab yours if you're looking for that. Because I don't know if they'll sell out and if there will be a next batch, or how long that might take. So if you had your eye on it, for sure, check out the inks from Amarillo Stationery. And Orange Kicks is one of the inaugural sort of Amarillo line of inks that were launched earlier in the year. And this is such a nice shade of like orangey yellow. It's bright, it's vibrant. Add some kick. Hi, Jacqueline. How's it going? How are you doing? Hope your week hasn't been too busy and you've had a chance to kind of take it easy. So those are the 7 inks. And I think we are going to use them up. So there's 7 inks that I've had sitting in my ink vial drawer or container, and they're almost done. So I thought I would take them out and try and use them up on my stream and talk about inks. So we've used them. So I'm gonna let this dry, and we're gonna do the same thing. This is my Tomoe River Paper notebook. So we're gonna let that dry on the windowsill. And we're going to do the same thing in my Galen Leather Cosmo Air Light notebook. And we'll kind of compare and see how the 2 papers handle painting with fountain pen inks, even though I'm pretty sure it'll be fine because I've done a few paintings in here already where it's like there's minimal ghosting, and if there's bleed through, it's like very, very slight. So and I like the paper too because it feels smooth, and which is really nice to paint on because the paintbrush just glides on top. So I'm going to do the same thing. So this again is the TheCoffeeMonsterzCo Esterbrook collaboration ink called Forgotten Iced Coffee. So if you forget about this ink, just add a little bit of water to lighten it up a little bit. Because I think it's showing a little bit darker than what it actually is, which is fine. This is the really nice teal Dominant Industry ink, shimmer ink, pearl. So you can see when I put down ink on this paper, it kind of just sits on top for a little while. And it takes a little bit of time to dry. I would say a little bit longer than Tomoe River Paper, but also I'm putting down a lot of ink on here, so it could be a mix of that as well. So this one is Ferris wheel press Ribbiting pond. And it's quite shimmery just because it's like the bottom of the vial. So I have a lot of ink in here, or a lot of shimmer in here. So it's going to come out a lot shimmery than it probably does in the bottle. This one is, oh yeah, Ferris wheel press Galeforce green, which really isn't super green just because of how saturated I think it is. And The color itself is a little darker than the types of greens that I tend to use. So that's okay. I feel like this Dominant Industry Teal is a little bit more green than Galeforce green. Oh, hi, Tuli. How's it going? Thanks for the cheer. How are you doing? Busy page today. Yeah, I'm trying to use up my inks, so we're just going to have some fun. I like doing this practice because it's really just going with the flow instead of thinking too much about what it's going to look like in the end. I really don't care what it looks like in the end. I think just the act of, you know, having fun with inks, using them, right? Like if you have leftover ink, put them in a vial, take them out one day and just paint. Like don't even worry about what you're painting, you know, or what it looks like. Just use up your space, right? Use up your space, use up the inks, have fun with it. I love just kind of exploring the colors and seeing what they look like when they go down on paper. And that's what we're doing. I think we're kind of going through the dark colors a little bit, the greens, the blues, the darker ones, and then now we have some of the lighter colors. So we'll add a little bit of lightness here. So this is the Tom Studio Peaches and Cream, which is very, very creamy. And this one's actually very watery, so this might take a little bit to dry, which is okay. And then this is Prune by Étretat, which I don't have any other inks from them. I didn't even really know they were an ink brand until my pen friend sent me a bottle when they went to Paris. So I thought, wow, it's really pretty. So I'll show you what this one is because it's very, very pretty. So this is L'Étretat Prune. And that's the bottle. It's so cute. Yeah, so Prune is more plum. But because I've added quite a little bit of water, it's actually looking more like rose pink. But out of the bottle, it's actually darker than it is here. I'm glad to see you're having fun with inks. Yeah, I just wanted to use up some of these inks that I have in the vials, just so I can replace them and move on and use maybe some different inks in these vials. Because the longer they kind of sit in vials, they lose some of the water content, and so they become a lot more saturated than they are in their bottles, which is fine. You know, just be aware of that when you're kind of painting with them and stuff. You can add a little bit of water to lighten them up and reactivate them a little bit, but the longer they kind of sit in these vials, because they're not airtight, so at some point they'll just kind of become crystallized or dry to the glass. So before that happens, I was like, you know, I just like kind of using up inks that are sitting there. So we've done a really good job. Most of them are done. So we have 7 and one that I didn't swatch, but that's okay. I think it's this one. So there we go. That's just a little bit of ink exploration, let's call it. Some really nice colors in there. Some really nice shimmer. Oh, I think Galeforce green, which is this color from Ferris Wheel Press. It's like a very dark green black, but it looks like it has rose gold shimmer. I don't know if you can pick that up, but it's very, very nice. Very cool. Twitch wasn't sending your comments. Oh, Twitch. I found the prettiest caramel color in FWP. Oh, awesome. Do you remember what it's called? So I'm gonna... So that will sit on my windowsill for a little bit. And in the meantime, this is the painting we did on TRP. It's still wet in places because I did put down quite a bit of ink and water, so not all of it has dried. But I really like some of the shimmer coming through now. So again, that's the Galeforce green from Ferris Wheel Press. I like the shimmer part of it. I feel like the green is a little too dark for the greens that I tend to use. I like greens to be a little bit more green, or olivey at least. But I like the shimmer on it because it's kind of like, it seems green in person, and then when the light picks it up at an angle, it's rose gold. So maybe it's dual shimmer. And then we have some of the pinks and oranges still drying. And that's cool. Kind of like the mix of shimmer inks and standard inks, especially when they start to blend a little bit, because then you get a little bit of the shimmer in a standard ink that doesn't necessarily have the shimmer, but it's kind of like, this is what it would look like if it had shimmer. So that's fun. Hi, Spicy. How's it going? I saw you on Brad's stream. It's good to see you here. How have you been, friend? So I'm going to close some of these up because now that I'm done these, I can wash them out and throw in some other inks that, you know, sometimes I have ink bottles that sit there that kind of get neglected a little bit. Just because I don't have the right pen or I don't feel in the right space to ink them up at the time. And you can only have so many inked pens, really. It's up to you how many, but for me it's kind of, you know, I don't like to ink too many because I just don't use, I wouldn't use them that frequently enough. So sometimes I find that just taking out ink bottles that you haven't used in a little while and throwing a little bit into a vial, and then have that vial sitting in, you know, eyesight For me, it's a visual cue for me to use that ink, and so it feels good, you know. I always feel kind of sad if I haven't used an ink in a while. It's like I got it for a reason. Like I obviously was drawn to it for in some way, and so it's kind of nice to play with them, even if it's just a little bit of painting, or if you have sample inks. It's another way of using up some of those samples, is having it sit close to you, so you know when you see it, it's kind of a cue to take it out and use it, play with it. And if you're not going to ink up a pen, then take out a paintbrush, do some painting, you know, have some fun. iPad is so convenient to draw. That's awesome. You've taken up some drawing, have you? Reminds me of a Tobago Carnival costume. Beautiful jewel tones. Yes. Yeah. It is very nice, isn't it? It's kind of a mix of shades. Like I wouldn't really call this like autumn or fall vibes, really, but there is some like, you know, dark tones coming through. Some of the oranges and pinks and stuff too. That's kind of fun. So a little mix of things, which is nice. I wasn't really going for a palette anyways, so it is what it is. It's just gonna be its own vibe. Maybe it's carnival vibes. Like, you know, where you get your candy apples and stuff. Cotton candy apples. Really fun. So this is still drying, and then this one, which is just all of the inks, is still very much drying. So you see that I used a lot of water here. It was very watery. So I might have to blot that a little bit. But the rest are okay. There's some that have dried, and then we still have the green here drying a little bit here. So I think with Cosmo Air Light, it sort of sits, because it's coated, because it's coated paper, it sort of sits on top for a little while. So if you're painting on these papers, I would say make sure you have some time. Or you can do the painting and then either, you know, use the heat tool and accelerate the drying process a little bit, or you can also use a blotter and blot out some of the ink if you wanted to. Or what I usually do is I just do the painting and then I leave it on my windowsill if it's sunny, and let it dry naturally that way, and then come back later and, you know, add your ink names and do a little bit of drawing if you want, or don't. Do you do drawing digitally? I have used Procreate, and I have drawn, like I do a little bit of doodling, or if I'm creating like a sticker or something, I do a little bit of drawing on top on my iPad. But I have to say, for me, drawing is like, you know, for me it's pen to paper or paintbrush to paper. I love the process of it. If I can watch, you know, ink going down on paper, and things like that. So doing it digitally doesn't have the same kind of feel for me. But that being said, if, you know, you have time and you have an iPad and an Apple Pencil or something like that, then it's a great way of just kind of getting creative, right? So Copper Carnival, I finally think I found it again. Copper Carnival, let me see. I don't think I've heard of that one. Ah, let's see. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Copper Carnival. Oh, it is a calligraphy ink. Just in case you're not aware. It says here, not for use in fountain pens, roller pens, anything that has a feeder or feed, used with dip pens, brushes, and washable instruments only, because it is calligraphy ink, so it's meant to be used with dip pens, but it is very coppery. It's very coppery and shiny. That's very nice. I like the gold shimmer too. That's nice. Very pretty. Work is calling, Moonsprite. Thanks so much for joining and being here. I hope to see you again. There's some screen protectors that make it feel like paper. Oh, interesting, Spicy. So you kind of get the feeling of, yeah, I guess the texture, feedback, that kind of thing, right? I don't know. That might help. I do have to say I love the feel of paper. I'm very kind of analog in that way. Is if I want to use my hand, I sort of have to feel like the texture and the weight of a pen and kind of thing, right? But for me, digital drawing has a place like in my process of creativity. So not to say I don't ever do it. It's just I don't do it as much probably as if I was going to, pick up a pencil and just draw on paper. Or doodle or something. But what have you been drawing? Have you been doodling or like actually drawing scenes and stuff? I'd love to know. Portraits. You have one of those and you like it? Yeah. Drawing for the convenience. You know what? That's what it is. Drawing for the convenience. And also if, you're on the go or all you have is like an iPad and you just want to do a little creativity. Like, why not? Just whip it out, right? Like, it's not always convenient to have paper and pencil with you. So if that's that's what's stopping you from being more or like practicing drawing and stuff, then yeah, for sure. I'm all about it. Mostly anime stuff and scenes, environment stuff don't interest me. Yeah, no worries. Basically animation, and all sorts of cartoons. That's cool. Yeah. I can see that being like a great practice for digital drawing for sure. Like doodling and stuff. I'd love to sort of pick up a practice of like doodling on my iPad. Just kind of sit there as you're doing something else or you're watching something or listening to something. It's kind of like give your hand something to do, right? I always like that. So checking in on this one. This one is still kind of drying. So yeah, dry time for painting on these papers can be long. But also, sometimes I tend to use finer paintbrushes. So like something like this is okay. But then as soon as, you use like a broader paintbrush, you're putting down a lot more ink. And so ink and water, if you're using water. And so it becomes definitely a painting, and that can take a little while to dry. So this one's almost dry. They do help somewhat. Paperlike has quite a few interesting products. Yeah, still not as good as real paper, pen, and ink, but pretty good. So it's like they're simulating the feel of what paper would be. So it wouldn't be the exact texture. It wouldn't sound the same. You wouldn't have the crinkle of paper. Unless they're simulating that too, right? Like the sounds and the feels and stuff. But it won't be exactly the same. But if it's close enough, then that might be the encouragement and, the thing that makes it attractive enough for you to pick it up. So I'm glad that you're doing it, Spicy. That's all to say that I'm glad you're picking up drawing digitally and having some fun with it. Also, I will rectify, I don't mind doing environment and stuff. Yeah, it's a good practice. But there are things that we're drawn to, right? Like I just naturally sort of do abstract flowers. And if like anime and doodling or drawing other things is more your, like if it comes naturally to you in terms of you feel more confident doing it, then I definitely encourage that. And I think, you know, for everyone, it could be something different, right? Like for me, doodling, like actually like doodling like foods and animals and stuff doesn't come naturally. Like I kind of have to work on it a little bit, like focus, you know, and it's not like a just draw it and go kind of thing for me. Even though it's like you're just doodling, so it doesn't have to look perfect. But yeah, it's always kind of a work in progress. I can show you one artist. I use most of his arts as my wallpapers. Yeah, sure. I love how he has a limited amount of contrast colors. Yeah. Oh, same as canvas, you must be patient to allow the medium to set. Yes. It may look different once it does set. That's right, Tuli, it does. Yeah. It's really nice though. I do love when you sort of have these big ink pools and ink splotches. I love when it does dry and you can kind of see, you know, the edges of it. It's very imperfect and, you know, you see the contrast in shades even as it dries. And for me, that's part of the beauty of, you know, just putting down ink and letting it dry. Because then you can see, you know, it dries naturally like that. So it's really pretty. Yeah, you can link Instagram. I'll take a look. This one is almost dry. There's a little bit of wetness still. It's also not super sunny here, so it might take a little while. All right, let's see. There we go. Yeah, I like that. That's very cool. It's very like dark themed, right? Or like the colors. It's a dark contrast. Very cool. That's awesome. Great inspiration for sure. Yeah, I love how you use those colors. Yeah, it's hard to, especially if you're using like dark, moody colors, it's hard to get the contrast right because everything can kind of like blend in, right? And then all of a sudden it's hard to see like what the subject is, like what's actually happening because everything is so dark that, you know, your eyes kind of like, I don't see anything. So it's very complicated for sure. Very artistic and talented. There's so many nice pink options. How am I supposed to choose? I know. Welcome to the club, especially if you're drawn to a certain color. There's like so many shades, right? This understanding of light and shadow is so spot on. Yeah, it's really cool to like when you find an artist that speaks to you in terms of style and studying how they're sort of doing that, you know, those techniques of contrast or other things. It's like studying how they kind of do that is interesting because it's not easy, right? It's like practice and using a technique and skills and stuff, but it's kind of fun to pick out what you are drawn to about it and then practice it yourself. Yeah, if you want magenta, Sailor Akibi. Yeah, there are lots of magenta and that's a nice one. Yeah, for sure. Now there's shimmers. I know. Once you start adding shimmers to it. It's like, where do you stop? Right? Where do you stop? I guess once you find the color that, or the shade that, you know, really speaks to you, then that's when you stop. I don't know where my blotter sheet is because let's see. I'm going to put it in here. There we go. I'm going to blot a little bit of this because most of it is dry. But some of it is just sitting there, so. All right, now it's good. Now it's good to go. Look at all this shimmer too. It's a lot. Okay, so let's use my Kakimori stainless steel nib, my trusty nib, and this is my Kakimori pigment black ink. I was like, what is that word? Pigment. Okay, so this is my pigment black ink from Kakimori. My go-to when it comes to drawing with it, because we have some dark colors here, and I find that the pigment ink looks really nice, like it stands out on top of standard inks and even shimmer inks, and it's very dark and nice to draw with. So it is my dip ink. So we're going to highlight some of the inks that are on this paper just by drawing around them. And I like using up some of the white space, which if I just left it like this, you know, there's white space around here. But if I'm drawing, then I can use that white space to my advantage by using it as sort of a highlight, or where some of the concentrated pigment ink can sit. And I don't like to draw too much or put down too much black ink on top of other ink, just because the whole point was to enjoy the ink. So if I put the black around the white space, then it's almost like I'm filling up some of that white space and you can see the black, but it's not taking up, it's not taking over for the ink that we've put down before. So I really like plum and periwinkle too. Yeah. Yeah, there are lots out there. Pilot or Diamine for sure. If you're into shimmer, like I said, Ferris Wheel Press or URng, they have lots of options, which might be a good thing, which might not be a good thing. Yeah, Pilot is a good one. Fuyugaki, yeah. You have to learn body and anatomy. Yeah, and how to sort of capture the angles and stuff, I think. Like that's sort of I have to grow in that areas. If I'm drawing characters or portraits or something like that, learning the different angles. If you're drawing like hands and stuff or a face. This may be a hot take. If a pen doesn't work, send it back. Many in the community don't mind sending it to a Meister to fix it, but should you never settle for something that doesn't work? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, if something is truly wrong with a pen, and it's not, you know, manufactured properly, or something is off with it or something, it's always good to at least reach out to where you got it from and see, you know, what the next step should be before you kind of mess with it. And by mess with it, I mean like before you start tinkering or trying to, you know, fix it yourself. But yeah, if it's a nib and, you know, you got it a stock nib or something like that and you don't like it, or it doesn't write the way that you like, then of course you can get it custom ground to your liking, or even tune it a little bit, because sometimes, you know, stock nibs, they're not always perfect, depending on the brand too. So you can get them tuned or smoothed if you want. But yeah, if there's something wrong with the pen, I would definitely get it fixed by whoever sold it to you, retailer, or if you have to send it back to the manufacturer, then that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. All right, let's see. This is almost dry. I have a couple of patches of wet ink, which I think I might blot out if I have to, but in the meantime, let's write the ink names. Okay, so TheCoffeeMonsterzCo, Forgotten Iced Coffee. Then we have Dominant Industry. A really long one. Les Falaises. Étretat. Then we have Ferris Wheel Press, Ribbiting Pond, another Ferris Wheel Press, Galeforce green. Tom Studio peaches and cream. L'Étretat Prune. And Amarillo Stationery. URng Kicks. There we go. Very pretty, I think. Companies are my friends. Send me something that doesn't work or nib issues. Send me a new one. I understand mistakes happen, but I hate being gaslighted to have something that works. I mean, that's a hot take spicy. It's very spicy. Because, you know, some retailers and some brands will double check, triple check things. They'll check their nibs and stuff like that. But at the same time, like sometimes, you know, nibs that don't properly, like just little, you know, little tweaks and things can make a pen better. And I always like to sort of test out customer service when it comes to retailers and brands, because sometimes it's just a matter of reaching out to them and letting them know, like, this does not write properly, or this, you know, whatever the issue is. And it could be a you issue, like in terms of, you know, this doesn't write the way that I expected it to, but that doesn't mean that's a pen issue or product issue. But at the same time, there can be product issues. And it's always good to test out, you know, what the customer service is like, because, yeah, you know, you're right in that if you purchase something, you're expecting, you know, a perfect product. Like, you're expecting the product to behave that it should. You want it to write. You don't want to have issues with filling it up with ink, or, you know, you don't want things falling off of it and things like that. So, I always think, like, give them a chance to rectify it for you, right? And hopefully they're able to do that before you, like I said, before you tinker with it, or before you take it to a third party and get them to fix whatever, you know, you want to be fixed. It's always good to, you know, reach out first and see, you know, if that's a pen issue, can it be fixed for you? So having a nib ground to your preference. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that's one of my favorite experience at pen shows is going to a nib specialist. And sometimes, like, you know, I get pens with stock, you know, broad or double broad nibs, and while I like the writing experience, sometimes, you know, it's kind of nice to have a variation to the writing. Like me personally, I like to practice hand lettering and brush lettering and stuff. So having line variations and playing with different widths of lines and stuff like that, it's kind of fun for me. Like, it elevates my writing experience a little bit and makes it a little bit more enjoyable sometimes. So, you know, if I can get pens ground or nibs ground to different nib sizes. Wow, I'm having trouble with words today. If I can get custom grinds that, one, I prefer, right? Or there are some, like, sometimes I'll test something and I'll think, you know what, this seems fun, let's do it. And it's just kind of fun. It's an experiment to try different types of nibs and stuff. And you can't get these stock standard, right? Unless you're ordering it from a pen brand that also collaborates with a nib specialist. Sometimes Esterbrook does that. I think Steel and Stile also sometimes does that or offers that program where you can get it ground to a set of custom grinds with your pen when you're ordering one. And so that's something to look into if you're ordering from certain brands that also have custom grinds for a little bit more that you can tack on, especially if you're not able to get to a pen show or an event where nib specialists might be at. But I do find that really, really special when you can get a nib specialist to look at a nib. To be clear, I mean issues. If it's the nib tines, I can fix it back again. I mean, you do you. I'm not going to fix tines. I'm going to take it to someone. And also, I would highly recommend not to tinker with a pen if you are going to send it back, because that will negate the warranty that you have on a pen. So if you do buy it stock and there's something wrong with the nib, my first recommendation is always reach out to the retailer or the pen brand that you bought it from. Because like Esterbrook, I know has great customer service. If you reach out to them, or, you know, I've had people, or I've heard, you know, people go to a pen show and they go directly to the pen brand and they're kind of like, I bought this, but the nib is, you know, whatever. And they'll do their best to try and fix it for you. They'll get it sent back. They'll send it out to you fixed, or send you a replacement, or they'll walk you through you know, what you can do to, you know, improve it maybe. If it's like a slight adjustment, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not going to fix my own pens. Customer care is a hard job. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna blot this ink as well, because I think most of it has dried except for a little bit here. That's it. So that's now dry too, which is awesome. Even if the blotter sheet pulls up a little bit of the ink, I think some of the peach. I kind of like that look too. It doesn't pull up all of the ink, so it's kind of an interesting look to it. So again, I'm going to use my Kakimori pigment ink. My Kakimori dip nib. And with the Cosmo Air LIght, because the paper is so smooth, I find that you can put down a lot more ink. Like if you're using a dip pen, you don't have to dip too much, if that makes sense. So a little bit of ink goes a long way. It kind of sits on top of this paper and doesn't absorb too much of it. Maybe that's why it takes a while to dry as well, though. I find the nib just kind of glides effortlessly on top. So it's very nice that way. So you can see that pigment ink is just kind of sitting on top of the ink that is underneath. Yeah, and it's nice to know like general maintenance of a pen too, especially if it's not like too much work, right? if it's like just simple sort of maintenance and care of your pen. It's kind of nice to know that as well. And I've seen more and more at pen shows, there's like workshops you can take on like simple tuning. Pathetic Gamer Girl, thanks for the follow. So you can learn sort of general or simple ways to take care of your pen. If you have like small issues, how to care for it. Again, it makes me kind of nervous when I'm tinkering with pens, but some things I will do, some things I will try, because it's not worth like, you know, replacing or trying to get it repaired and paying, you know, so much more to do it. If it's something simple that, you know, you can do on your end. I think that's just part of owning a fountain pen or owning a pen where, you know, has mechanics to it. And if it requires a little bit of extra care, then that's fine. And I think it has to do with confidence too, of like feeling like, yeah, you can take the nib out. Like the first time I replaced a nib in a pen, like taking out, you know, the housing and stuff, and I was like, I hope I'm not breaking things. And it was fine. It was fine. Just a little bit of drama. Turned out fine. Everything was okay. The pen was good as new, almost. You're only really nervous the first few times. You have to replace something or take out a nib or do this or do that. And once you kind of get the hang of it and you feel like, yeah, it's fine, I can do this, then it is all good. A pen cleaning service. Yeah, some pens I will not tinker with, especially if they're higher end or there's a lot more mechanics to it. Yeah, some things I'm not going to mess with. Especially if I paid a lot of money for it. All right, so I'm going to write the inks again, even though there's no space here. That's okay. yeah, this ink is way lighter than it actually should be. So it's not a very accurate representation of it, but that's okay. Just for fun. No, I don't think I have seen that. There's a lot of shimmer happening here. It's very pretty though. I like it. It's funny because in person, like when I'm actually looking at this, I see different sort of shimmer colors than what's being picked up on screen. So it's very, very cool. Because I think it's reflecting different light, and some of them have dual shimmer colors for sure. I'm pretty sure Ribbiting Pond is more of a, like it has a rose gold, but also green or teal, something like that. Let me look that up. So it's this ink. Light blue with duochrome green shimmer. Yeah. So it's green shimmer, but it's picking up rose as well. A rose gold color. That's very pretty. And then Dominant Industry. This one. It's a really, really pretty pearl color. Because it is picking up that teal, but has the green and I guess gold shimmer. So yeah, also very pretty. Oh, and then Ferris Wheel Press Galeforce Green. I just want to see the color description on that one. So I think it's this one that I have. Final batch. So it is lighter than what was in my vial because it definitely dried out a little bit. So I added some water, but obviously Deep Eucalyptus with duochrome green pink shimmer. That's the one. Because I can see The green shimmer when I'm looking at it. Oh. I can see the green shimmer when I'm looking at it in person. And here, like this. The dark green. But on screen, it looks more pink. Or it's picking up the pink. While in person, for me, it's picking up the green. So, that part. It's very interesting. Pathetic gamer girl, this just made me want to go back to drawing. I had such peace. That's awesome. I'm glad. You should. I encourage that. Yeah, it is pretty. I don't know if this is possible, but do you think I'll find an opal-like ink? I don't know. An opal-like ink. Is Olive Octopus still here? Because Lisa's a treasure trove for different inks. Yeah, if you can think of a color, there probably is one. Opal, do you mean more of like the pink shade of it? Or green, blue? Like what do you want it to actually pick up? And then are you looking for shimmer? Pearl or shimmer that could replicate it, yeah. Mountain of Inks. Yeah, Spicy. That's a good idea. Good recommendation. Mountain of Inks. If you want to find inks and comparison of them, or if you have an ink that you really like and you want close, close ink recommendations to that one, that might be a good idea. Mountain of Inks. Blue, yeah. Well, there's definitely lots of blue inks that have like shimmer properties to it that will probably give you like a shimmery opal. Let's see. So Mountain of Ink. And you can check out different blues, probably. There's also ink palettes, if you want them themed. And you can search too, so. Yeah. Always try to check if the ink has some reviews or Reddit posts. Yeah, I mean, see what other people are saying about it too. But if you do find an ink, I usually throw it into Mountain of Ink to see like what is similar to it. Sometimes I have inks that are similar to other inks, which is kind of nice to find out. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Spicy. I think there's Reddit posts and Google posts. And just in general, yeah, I'm not a fan of Noodler's inks. I just think they're terrible. In my experience. Yeah, I would ask the Google machine. So yeah. But I'm sure if you're looking for a specific type of, like a specific shade. Oh, can you also check Fountain Pen Companion, like by FPC? Discover inks. By brand. Let's see, blue. Oh yeah, maybe here. This one's a good one. So Fountain Pen Companion, this is, there's user-generated inks with tags. You can search, for example, you can search for an ink brand or an ink color. And like this one's, if you're going to search for blue or blue shimmer, and it'll come up with swatches of like the different inks that people have sort of input into their collection, right? So and then some of those inks might be available and some might not be, but if you find an ink swatch that you like here, you can always look it up later, or you can always reference it in Mountain of Ink, or just Google it and see what else is similar to that as well. So if anything here sparks your interest. But it's kind of nice to go through this too. I like to see what other people have in their collection sometimes. Not so I can add them to mine, but also, yes, to add to mine. Also see what's out there. Because sometimes, you know, we get a little bored with our own collections. Speaking for myself, sometimes I get a little bored with my own collections. Diamine Jack Frost is a blue ink with blue shimmer. Yeah. Yeah, Diamine has a pretty extensive lineup of shimmer inks, I think. And Diamine in general is like a good, you know, consistent brand. I haven't had any issues with their inks. You know, unless you're doing the ink vent and there's some experimental inks, but for the most part, they're pretty consistent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like gold foil, I could just put on a type of nice blue. I am sure you will find, I'm sure you'll find the blue shimmery ink that you're specifically looking for. It's just a matter of like where to look. So check out Fountain Pen Companion, check out Mountain of Ink, see what you like there, and then kind of go from there as well. Because in terms of brands, like Robert Oster has some good options, but the more extensive brands that have like, especially if you're looking for shimmer, I would probably look at Ferris Wheel Press. I would probably look at Wearing Ghoul. I would look at Diamine, and see, you know, what else is sort of similar to. If you find a shade there, see what else is similar to those shades, I think. Jeroboam, yeah. Usually inks that don't behave well, some Sheen Monster inks. Sometimes experimental. Yeah, I personally am not a huge Sheen ink person, so sometimes inks will have, like they will dry and they will have very strong sheen to them. And just makes them a little bit, sometimes it takes them longer to dry. It makes them a little moody when you put them in pens. But yeah. You gotta leave this chat, pathetic gamer girl. No worries. Hobby collection costs too much. Yeah, hobbies do tend to be a little bit expensive, but I'm also a big, uh, prop- what's the word? A big encourager. Um, I like to encourage people to use their supplies. So I find that when I first started my fountain pen hobby, I just dove through the rabbit hole and I ended up trying different, brands, ink brands and pen brands before I found what I really liked. And by that time, when I found the fountain pen community, um, and a lot of people were recommending like different ink brands and different things to try and different products. um, I did accumulate things, and now I try to, remind myself that I have a collection, I have a stash. So if you're in the mood for trying new things, try different types of paper and stuff. I always look in my own stash and see what I can use up first before I buy stuff. So that's why I like sites where they can compare. Like if you're in the mood for a certain shade of ink, I like when there are sites out there that can recommend inks that are similar to it, because sometimes I find that I have an ink or a color that's close enough that will satisfy my craving for that color. I'm at the office, not near swatches. Maybe Colorverse Mystic Mountain. Yeah, Olive Octopus to the rescue. I think there's a dominant industry art ink in that range. Yeah. Vinta. I don't have any Vinta inks, I don't think, but I've heard a lot about them recently. Journalize have ethereal shimmers. Journalize? I don't think I've even heard of them. Oh, Birmingham? Yeah. Journalize. Oh, they're made in Hungary. Ooh, very nice. Oh, the bottle. Let's click on this. That bottle is so cool. The label. I like the size of it too. Comes in this cool box. Very interesting. I haven't heard of them or seen them. So yeah, that's super cool. It looks like they have quite a few shades and very interesting. Oh, okay. They're an independent stationery store in Hong Kong. Very cool. The inks are made in Hungary with a capacity of 30 mil. All right, that's what I saw. I was like, what is happening? Where are they from? Very interesting. Venice started to, yeah, that's where I'm looking, because I was like, where is this? And that's what came up. So very interesting. Oh, and Mountain of Ink also has a little bit about it. Oh, I love these shades. Very cool. I feel like they would be really fun to paint with, for sure. That's the kind of eye I'm looking at this with. Like that would be so fun to paint with. And get all these like, yeah, whimsical inks, really fun. Time of day inks. I like that like purple Starry Night inks. Wow, very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Can't wait to hear more about what people think about things. Have you used them, Olive Octopus? You have a few samples. Yeah, Birmingham still only sells direct as far as I know. I have a few samples of Birmingham inks. They're a little hard to come by if you're shipping into Canada, but I did have a friend who sent me some samples and I really like them. I really like the names. They're very creative and accurate too, probably, to describe the shades. Let's see, Birmingham. They have quite a few available too. Zucchini. I don't know how often they come out with new ink, like ink colors, but it's pretty fun to read through them sometimes. Oh, and they do mixing elixirs too. Very cool. Sugar kelp. Also obsessed with Kobe this week. Yeah. Just watched the journalized. Need to spend more time, but I've been too far down the rabbit hole with paper of late. Yes. Yes, the paper. So good. Yeah, I became a little bit, I wouldn't say obsessed with Kobe, but I became more aware of Kobe as of the California Pen Show this year in February. And I was like, what? Like, why have I not tried these inks before? Because they are just really, really pretty and nice and very well behaved. And then I found that there's like so many shades that I like from them, and I want to try and, get a few more because, yeah, they're really, really nice. Hi, Fountain Pen News. How are you doing? What inks and pens have you used as of late? What are you drawn towards this week or in the last couple of weeks? And have you heard of Journalize? How many people have heard of this brand? But it does look like they're kind of now coming into market, I guess, with Van Ness, and there will be more retailers who carry them. No, we'll find out more. It's kind of like Troublemaker. Came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, they have a lot of, and this was like, a couple years ago, but all of a sudden I started seeing them at retailers, and they had quite a lineup of inks, so it was kind of fun to try them out. So, you have a handful of Journalized? That's cool. Hi, G. How's it going? Done like a pro. Yep. Yeah, I got to Van Ness Pen Shop and within 20 minutes was swatching inks and comparing and testing new papers. Of course. Of course. What else would you do, right? You just jump in there. Birmingham only sells direct, but they're awesome. They're sending you a promo pack. Cool. For the Pelican Hub. That's really cool. Is that allowed? That's really cool, though. I feel like when you have a pen meetup or like a pen group meetup and stuff like that, it's really nice when you can test out new to you inks, or if people are kind of new to the hobby, it's kind of nice to get samples and try out paper, pens, inks. Ah, yes, I do not have a Venice affiliate code, so let fountain pen news know if you need one. They're expensive. Oh, okay. Yeah. You have over 30 rad items to raffle at the hub? That's so cool. Maybe we should do a raffle at our hub. I'm not the hub master, but it'd be kind of fun, right? I'm just trying to think of like if there's like new people at the hub who kind of have heard of Pelican because they're a well-known brand, but don't know too much about other other brands, or the variety of pens and inks and paper. Just trying to think of like what other things would you bring to Pelican Hub so that people can do some like tasting and testing. Paper tasting, pen sampling, ink testing. Yeah, that is really cool. How big is are you the hub master fountain pen use? How big is your hub? Or the hub that you're going to? Do you know? We do it so that there's a small fund for venues, name tags, etc. Yeah. Just the name journalize sounds fancy. Yeah. If I heard, I didn't equate journalize to inks because I don't, I guess, it makes sense, but also it's kind of like, ooh, okay. Journalize. I bring my Fancy Pants notebook that has 10 types of paper. That is Fancy Pants. Very. But also a great idea. Yeah, I guess like samples of paper, different types of notebooks. The hub goddess. Because the guy who's chosen bailed? That sucks. Our hub has 100 registrants. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah. Hi, April. I'm helping to organize the hub in Calgary, and I'm bringing wax seals. Wax seals! Yes! That is awesome. That's a great idea. We have 76 in Calgary, more than I expected. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually kind of a big group, too. I should make a line of spicy ink that are bright and in your face. You should. If you have bright and fun and vibrant inks, I feel like people would love to test and try those things, right? 15 to 20% are bringing guests. Yeah. There's I'm still stuck on this wax seals thing, April. I'm so glad you shared that. That is a great idea. Yeah. I'm putting together a project plan and a lot of documentation for anyone who might be willing to do it in the future. Yeah. Like also kind of like what people can walk away with, right? Is like reference, or like where, if you want to know more, if you want to like find out more about inks and stuff like that, like where to go is a great tool for people who come. We're meeting at an art supply store in Calgary. Should be lots of fun. That's cool. Ink testing too, of course. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a cool venue. Like if they have the setup to host, 76 is a big group to have at a store, a supply store. So that's awesome that it worked out. I wanted to make my own inks. No. For laughs and giggles. You can do your own inks if you want. That's what my kids are doing. I give them ink samples and they kind of just, mix and match and make their own inks and name them random and general names that, Yeah, saving money. I found a venue that is not only free to use, they're giving everyone a 20% food and drink coupon. That's a great deal. It's hard to find venues where you can have a group of people, right? Like, especially if it's sort of like a planned event, like hubs. I know for Vancouver last year, it was like around 100 people, maybe more. And it ended up being at a venue where like you had to pay, right, to be part of the event. And then also you had to purchase like food or drink or something like that, something small. And I know that's like, you know, Hubs doesn't have to be a free event. Like, I don't think that's how it's even, you know, advertised as. But at the same time, it's also a barrier to entry for some people who are just like casual, you know, they just want to be a guest or they're starting out and it's like, I just want to see what this is about without getting too involved. It's encouraging when they can, you know, go to an event that's like hosted at a, you know, store or where there's like enough people where they can kind of get recommendations and try different things. I feel like it makes the event a little bit more worth it probably for, you know, people who are new to the community who, who kind of like they want to try things out, maybe not, you know, get enabled. It's like join the community, you know, try out all this stuff. And yeah, it's kind of a nice way of engaging. And I think this year the Vancouver hub there's a lot of people, over 100 people, I'm sure. And I don't know how big actually, but there's a few more localized within sort of the city. There are a few more localized hubs, and so I'm going to a smaller one for my first hub. Smaller, more intimate, and it's being held, I think, sort of at a community center, and so it's kind of a nice place to like test things, share samples. So for me, I was thinking of, I mentioned earlier, I only have one Pelican, M205, which was kind of my entry into European, I guess, pen brands as an adult. And I don't have any other Pelicans. So I will bring the M205. I was thinking of bringing different types of paper. A couple of my favorite notebooks probably. And ink samples if people want that. But yeah, also maybe like ways to paint with ink. So like paintbrushes and stuff like that to like, you can ink your pens, but also you can have some fun. One venue I reached out to quoted me $8,000. Ooh. And beverage minimum. Yeah, I think it was a minimum spend or something like that with a few venues here. So it's really hard to find a place on Friday night for a large group. That's exactly it, Cheese Crafties. Like, it's hard to find a venue that is for a large group that's planned, right? Like, you're not just like going to hang out for, you know, an hour or whatever. Like, you're inviting people to this venue. So it's really tough, especially if you're in a city, downtown, you know, that kind of thing. Big cities. It's tough. It's a big store with lots of free parking and people can shop that evening. I like that. Like, if, or at least like if you like what you see or something, and you can always come back, right? It's like kind of like come back to this store if you're interested in trying things and buying things. The store sells wax seal supplies. That's awesome. It's like stationery stuff, right? Like hobbies and stuff. So it makes total sense. A lot of people who are into inks and fountain pens are into other things like wax seals and collaging, scrapbooking. So yeah, thankfully it worked out. Pelican, yeah, people don't realize that Pelican doesn't provide any budget or support for the hubs. Yeah, and you know, I heard things about this year too, about gifts and stuff like that. So, you know, as more and more people are interested in hubs, I think it's going to stretch, what Pelican is able to provide and also willing to provide probably. And it sort of becomes a lot more like volunteer based and attendant, like if you're attending and you can share things with people, I think it's going to be a lot more of that, which our community is very very open to sharing, very open to giving free inks and free stuff. Like if there's things in my stash that I just haven't used in a while and I probably won't, I'm like happy to gift it to people knowing that it'll be used, especially if it's someone who's trying things out and they're like, I just want to try really nice paper, and you're like, here, have a notebook, right? Because it just brings us happiness to share with other people and get them to experience the joy in stationery. Oh, they do advertise it as a free event. Jeez, I didn't realize that. I thought they kind of just advertise it as an event where people get together and stuff, but yikes. Maybe that's why it's if you're going to say it's free, it's not technically, depending on the location, I guess, but very challenging for the larger hubs in more popular areas. Yeah. Yeah, they provide inks. And half of your inks are missing. I've heard stories about the inks this year. Yeah. I give it up to people who are actually volunteering to um put these hubs together, because some of them, like I said, the bigger cities are going to have a lot of attendees. Tell me you don't want to, yeah, without telling me you don't want to host my event. Yeah. Don't want to host this event. One time I found 2 Richard Binder customized nibs. They were out of my state, and my nephew went and picked them up for me. That is so cool. Wow. I reached out to Richard and asked some questions about them, and he said they were a minimum of 20 years old and had never been used. That's amazing. Yeah, I totally get that. It's intended to be a free event for everyone around the world to meet at the same day and time, Friday night at happy hour time. And the challenge is that because it's group based, some places will obviously have small groups, manageable groups, and some places will have bigger groups. And then with the bigger groups, because you want it on a certain day at a certain time, all of a sudden you're talking about trying to find a venue that it can accommodate. And I think that's the problem where, you end up having to pay a minimum for catering type of, food, drinks, that kind of thing. And then just the space to have a group meetup. And then the other thing also, a challenge for attendees is traffic. Vancouver traffic at happy hour time is not fun. So, and in the past, that's what's in the past couple of years, that's what's kept me away from attending a hub, because I cannot on a good day, it takes me about an hour to drive into the city. And on when there's traffic, it's 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours. And yeah, I'm not going to drive that long at night. So this year it just works out because I'm going to stay in the city on the Friday night. So I'll be in the city. But yeah, there's challenges and there's hindrances to people being able to plan it and also to attend. But if you can make it work and you can find a venue that's great for hosting a group of people, that experience is priceless, right? It's awesome. And it's great for Pelican, or, you know, if there are other brands who kind of host these types of groups, and people are encouraged to attend them because, you know, they feel comfortable that it's general enough that they don't need to be, you know, they don't need to know a lot about pens to attend a hub. You don't need to know anything. You don't have to have a Pelican. You don't need to have anything related to pens. But if you're just interested and you want to find out more, or you want to be around people who enjoy pens and try them or something like that, like it's so generalized that the barrier to entry really is just the hub itself, right? So yeah, wish I could definitely get for free. For sure. I was able to get a second hub for our area, but really there should be a third. Yeah, but no one further south will host. So I think that's what a group of us ended up, like the hub that I'm going to. Um, I think that's what ended up happening is that just, you know, the city hub is so big that, like, personally too, like I feel a lot of anxiety around just like being around so many people and trying to maneuver, you know, getting to hang out, and meeting people and sharing, you know, sort of sitting and just having like a casual ink tasting, maybe not tasting, testing. And, you know, that kind of vibe versus like, you know, when you're in a smaller group, and it's a little bit more like one-on-one personalized kind of thing, but there's still a group. So you're not like pressured to constantly have conversation and stuff, which, oh. Like, let's just play with stuff. Like, let's just play with stationery. And I think that's what sort of came out of last year. Just like a lot of the big hubs, they had opportunity to, you know, branch out into smaller hubs as long as there were people who were willing to plan them. And I know there's some of the smaller hubs, they didn't have anyone sort of step forward and say, I'll plan it. So they didn't end up happening, which is kind of sad. Or someone does like fountain pen news and then just bails for whatever reason, medical or, you know, just was overwhelmed. I was thinking there needs to be a cap on the number. So some of the bigger hubs get split to different parts of the town. Yeah. I've made a Pelican Hub Facts flyer to include in the gift bags. Fountain pen news, you're just like on top of it. That's so awesome. Because people don't know how it works. Yeah. Your project management package. Inky, hi. The hub I'm attending is meeting at a brewery. What? And they suggested each person bring an appetizer. I'm stumped about what to bring. That's compatible with pen and paper and at a brewery too. Yeah. Nothing too like sticky or greasy or, you know, something that will kind of compromise your experience in using pens, right? Like you don't want that to transfer to pens. And something that's too messy to eat. I don't think that's helpful, but I'm just saying like what not to. What textures not to have. And a project manager for work says, oh, you're a project manager. Yeah, that's awesome then. I had one of the last ones at non-denominational church because it was donated to me. That is really cool. That's an interesting venue for sure. And I know a lot of people in the industry that give away items. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I love the brewery idea because it's kind of like paint nights and stuff, you know, where like wine or like sip and paint and those kinds of places. But this is just like the vibe will be very casual and very really fun, I think. You do pen club meetings at brewery. They're always a fun vibe. Do you have snacks there, geez? Like what would you bring? What would you have if you were there? Yeah, that would be super, super fun. Oh, they have a food truck if people get hungry. Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm thinking like anything handheld or in small containers. Um, Pretzels? I don't know. Uh, Pretzels and dip. A lot of these breweries don't serve food, but have food trucks. Yeah, that makes sense. A brewery was suggested here, but the hub master went with a brew house restaurant we have been having pen club at. Yeah. Well, if you've had pen club or meetups there, that's kind of good to know, right? Like that you can actually make it work too. Instead of doing it at a restaurant where you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if they have space for us to actually like, or if, are they okay with, people playing with inks and stuff? Because not all places will be, I assume. At least here in Colorado, the land of microbreweries. Yep, that makes total sense. And it's kind of when you're doing it after work on a Friday, a brewery or, that kind of setting makes sense too. Or an art store, because then it's like after closing time, or they can close early for like pen meetups and stuff. With the time, it helps to have some kind of food available. Yeah, I agree. Or if you're close to, like if you're having it in a place that, maybe you can't have food, having it somewhere close to places where you can just kind of grab something to eat beforehand, that's kind of helpful too. Our place is a Korean food hall, so everyone has to order and pay for their own food. Yeah, rather than having service and stuff. Yeah. Hi, Paw Pal Gal. How's it going? Are you going to Pelican Hubs next week? That's what we were kind of chatting about. Yeah, so interesting to hear where other hubs are taking place, for sure. And how each hub is sort of handling the numbers, especially if there's a lot of people. I would love, going back to one of Olive Octopus comments before, I would love if there were the big hubs, if they were given the option of breaking up into two or more smaller hubs, if they had multiple people who were willing to, plan the hubs. And I think the challenge is like when you're registering for Pelican Hubs and you pick the location, I feel there should be some sort of option where it's like, if there's more than two hub master or like people who volunteer to be the hub master, is there an option to break it up into two groups, especially if it's a big city? Or, are there some smaller areas in that big city, within the city, where, people are interested in? Like, it's just like one of those things where like you put your city or the closest city to you, hoping that there will be enough people, unless you know enough people to pre-organize it, right? That's what a few of us did for Vancouver. It's like we sort of pre-organized a smaller hub within, a big city. But if you're like new to the community or new to the hobby and you don't know anyone, or you want to go as a guest, it's like you kind of have to guess, right? Like, this is the closest city to me, and if they don't have a person who's going to even if you have enough people for the hub, but if you don't have someone who steps up and says, I'm going to volunteer to plan this, it's like, yeah, you're kind of out of luck, right? And then you kind of have to figure out where else you can go and email. Anyways, it just becomes feel like it's complicated, and I wish there was an easier sort of way to organize that up front. And I think that might help with the big numbers, but anyway, we rant. There are used to our inks and pens, but max of 10 or 12 for pen club and 50 plus for a hub. Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of like, that's a lot of people. Hubs have the discretion to split the hubs. Oh, okay. And how do they assign someone to take over another split hub? We've been waiting to hear more information. Oh, how do I find it? So I'm gonna change days to Saturday morning. Yeah, Saturday makes more sense to some places. I think some people like to be part of the, like, everyone else is doing it on this certain day, so they want to do it on the Friday, which makes sense. But there's a guy driving 5 hours to come to our hub, and he wants to know how you can set up a hub in his area. Ah, okay. Come visit me. It's all off the books if you split. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Someone has to be the primary contact. So you work it out. You work it out amongst yourself, basically. Yeah, I guess you'd have to. Yeah, Papa Gal, I saw in, I've seen posts on Facebook within the fountain pen enthusiast group kind of thing, where people were kind of like, I signed up for this hub, but haven't heard anything. And then, maybe there's a way for other people to help out if they know who it might be, and stuff like that. But yeah, or message fountain pen news. If people kind of know who it might be, or if there's ways to reach other people in that hub who probably have registered as well. Either, the person who volunteered to do it hasn't reached out and may not, or there was an issue with your email or something like that. Who knows? There's like different problems there could be. But at this time, you should know where it's happening. Like, there should have been at least like an initial sort of email with the details of where it's going to be, whether it's going to cost something, or, It's next week. It's next week. It's coming up so fast. Like, there has to have been some contact, communications. Yeah, the pros of using all pen events everywhere. Yeah. I mean, there isn't a hub in my immediate city because it's pretty small. But at least for this year, there are more hubs taking place in British Columbia, where I am. And that's exciting because, at least it's kind of like, the next year there might be some of the smaller hubs might have more people. So you can do a smaller hub, outside of the big city. And that's kind of nice too. Especially for people who might get overwhelmed in, bigger groups. Similar to like a pen show vibe where you're like, oh, wow, there's so many people, it's overstimulating. There's so many things to take in. It's nice to have the option to be part of a smaller group and, still get to play with inks and paper and pens and stuff. So that's kind of nice. It's always a fun event. That's good to know. At the end, that's what we want, right? Just a fun, good vibe. I would hope that people are not turned off of the hobby or of the community or in any way sort of have a negative experience, right? And I'm sure if you want to join or attend a hub, I'm sure there's ways of like figuring out what is the closest hub to you, what's more convenient to you, and if you want to go to a different hub too. That's what our guy did. He just pretended he wasn't chosen. Wow. Until I emailed the Pelican Hub. That sucks. Found him in news. I'm so glad that you stepped up though. Like, what a nice gesture on your part to find out what went on, because like otherwise people would just be like, I don't know, I don't know where I'm going. And now you're going to make it like such a fun event for people who are coming. So yeah, that's great. The more people that sign up from an area, then you get more hubs. Yeah. And more options too. Like if you, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to be part of the big city hub, get the big city feel, and meet as many people as they can, and that's cool, especially if you're extroverted. But then there are others who, just kind of want it like a little bit of a smaller setting, and a small group feel. We have our pen show this weekend and the hub next weekend. Yes, I know. You're going to have really busy weekends. Yeah, I hope everyone has a great time. I hope everyone gets to try out what they want and what they like, something new to them. That's always my goal. It's like, if you can try out something that's new to you without having to spend, like, without having to buy a whole, ink bottle or whatever. If you want to just try out a few things, like, it's always fun. Pelican Hub is how I found out about our pen club. That is amazing. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do that. Like, I'm sure a lot of people sort of go to these events and they're like, whoa, there's like a whole community and a club, and that's awesome. And then you can get other people involved too and enable them. They said over 10,000 people registered globally. That's amazing. Do you know what the number was last year by any chance? Like, how much has it grown? I'm sure by quite a bit, but that's why I'm being such a bulldog about getting it all set up and making it fun. Yeah, you are. You're going like that extra mile, which I love. That's so awesome. You likely will be okay to attend. You just wouldn't get the gift bag. Yeah, exactly. But like, still attend if you can. And I'm sure, people are willing to share things and let you try things out. Like for me, it's like meeting the people and like seeing people, and sharing things with them. So thanks, and flowers are gorgeous. Sorry to scroll from the convo. No. We like, I don't know who brought up Pelican Hubs, but we got on a tangent. And since it's upcoming, it's next week. It's very time, essential. Hopefully I can stream next Wednesday. It's my plan to stream next Wednesday anyways. And we can talk about like what to take to Pelican Hubs type of event. Because yeah, I have to put some things together, I think. I'm not going to show up empty-handed. Hopefully I'll be well enough to participate fully. Oh no, 4 days in the hospital last week. I hope you're okay. Speedy recovery. Hoping you're all good. Yeah. It's grown about 25%. Yeah, wow. That's awesome. I'm sure too, like, after it's sort of ramping up a little bit as well, like after the pandemic and stuff. And as more people get involved or see pen shows, stationery events, and, just a lot more sharing about it, I think. I'm sure the number will keep growing just as more people kind of get curious and they're like, yeah, I want to find out what this is. People always want to see stuff they've seen on my channel. Yeah, especially flex nibs, for sure. Not everyone can acquire these types of nibs and inks and stuff like that. So if they can test them out in person, or at least like see it being demonstrated and stuff, that's always kind of fun, right? I must say I love this community. People love to step up to make sure it's an amazing time for people. Yeah. I think the last thing any of us want is for, other people to like, see what's going on and they're kind of like, oh, this is like the worst experience. Like, no, we're nice people. Most of us, I don't know. I don't want people to come to like these meetups and stuff and then like walk away thinking it's not for everyone. I will admit, I wish people who, tried stationery became stationery people. That doesn't always happen, right? And that's fine. But I don't want people to think that the community, think negative things of the community in any way, because I think this community has some of the best and kindest people, inclusive people, who open up their, they're willing to share their experience. They're willing to share the knowledge that they've gained, and also share like their stash, like destashes and stuff, samples. Stupid surgery recovery. Oh man, that sucks. But hopefully you recover fast. Yeah, lots of healing. Hope everything goes well. Oh, awesome. What are you showing us? Oh. A backflip. Amazing. Wow. Oh my. That's too funny. Oh. Just a little bit of fun. I'm a sucker for testing pens. Yeah, same. I love, I feel like that's like such a great part of meetups and pen shows and stuff like that, where you can try tester pens and you can try out other people's pens very carefully. Yeah, because like I like keeping keeping sort of a reference of different nibs I've tried, different types of pens, like pen brands that are new to me. And yeah, I love trying out those new things and having a reference so that later I can look back and be like, yeah, I did try, a flex nib or whatever. Like I tried this different nib and this is what I thought about it, right? I love the experience of it. So if I don't have to own all of those nibs and pens to get that experience, then I'm happy. The other cat reaction. Spicy. Too funny. Now I've unlocked a new hobby, acquiring all the nib grinds. It happens. Where your the custom nib grinds that you got in SF, were those the first ones? Because yeah, you're you're well on your way, I would say. And it's always kind of, at first, when I first got my custom nib grinds, I was like, I think I sort of stuck to, like I like this type of writing, so this is how I hold my pen. So then these are the types of grinds that I like. And I find that after I got my first few custom grinds and I was like, I think I'm good. And then I started to branch out to grinds that are like more fun, that push me a little bit out of my comfort zone of regular daily writing. Not to say that that's what you need. Like, do not spend the money or, effort on like getting those custom grinds if you don't think you need them, for sure. But I feel like I'm in that sort of phase where it's like, I want to push my writing a little bit too. I find it a little bit more fun to be experimental when it comes to different types of writing. So yeah. When I was at the Philly show, this guy kept handing me pens to try. When I calculated after, it was probably $30,000 worth of pens. Oh my goodness. Oh, that reminds me, fountain pen use. At the SF Pen Show. I don't know if Paul Falgal, you might have been there too, or if you tried them, but there was someone from like the local sort of pen club who brought, and like very, well known in the community kind of thing, but brought binders of like really nice pens and pens that are legit part of like a collection. So pens that are hard to come by, pens that, probably it would be like auctioned off kind of thing. So they're hard to find and vintage and, So yeah, I tried those and and he was just like, yeah, try this one, try this one. So there were a few of us there. And every time I was handed a pen, I was like, oh no, I have to treat this like it's so precious because they were worth a lot of money. So yeah, I felt the same where I was kind of like, wow, like if I had these pens, I think probably like each pen would be like a grail pen pretty much, right? So yeah, an excellent reminder that we do not need them. You do not need any of this. You do not need custom grinds. You do not need all of the pens. And you do not need all of the inks. But it's sure fun to try them out and to have some. And if you can and you'd like, then, I always recommend custom grinds because it's a great way of supporting nib specialists in the community who have expertise in matching up, your writing style, the way you grip a pen, and all of those factors into making the pen that you own write better for you, right? And like let you enjoy more of that writing experience. And if that's not important to you, then it's totally cool. You could buy a pen, write with it, and then move on. But, if you like to immerse yourself in enjoying your tool a little bit more than, having it just stock bought, then it's fun, right? Like that's kind of like the extra that you don't need but probably want. At least speaking from my experience. I love those moments. No way I'll ever have one. So glad to get to see them. Yeah, for sure. Maybe in like, I don't know, 50 years or something, right? Like maybe if you're in the hobby for long enough where you kind of like, you've done, modern pens, you've done all the pens that you want to. And then it's like just trying to acquire those pens that are hard to acquire, right? Like either they're vintage, they're no longer made, or they're one of a kind, limited edition, those kinds of things. And I know there are people who love the chase, who love trying to acquire something they don't think is possible. They have a grail pen and it's like trying to get each of those grail pens. For me, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna, if you want to let me write with one, I would be grateful. Yes, there is no way I would want to travel with them. I don't know how far this person had to travel to get there or if they were local. I totally forgot. But I know I would not want to travel with really expensive pens. I think I only traveled with my Pilot Custom A23 and I was like, or like a Leonardo. I'm like, I have to be very careful, but they'll be okay. Kirk Spear is coming to our hub and he donated 6 gift certificates. Oh, how do I come to your hub? How do I get there? Kirk is so generous. Kirk is amazing. Kirk is Kirk is a really wonderful person. Super, super fun and really just like generous and really, really great at what he does too. Kirk or Penrealm. If you want to get your nibs taken care of, Kirk is a great person to go to. Everyone has been so generous, it makes me kind of emotional, actually. Yeah, I know. It's like when you actually think about like all the time and effort and product and things people are willing to provide, share and stuff and give to the community. It is really, really nice. He's opening a storefront soon? What? That's amazing. That makes sense, I think. I hear Gollum in my head all the time. We wants it. That's so funny, Pop Out Gal, because I just, like, a couple days ago, I finished listening to the audiobook of Lord of the Rings: A Fellowship. And it's narrated by Andy Serkis, who is Gollum. And so good. So good. I had read the books like years and years ago. And then obviously watched all the movies. But listening to the audio of that is like priceless. It's so good. So yes, I can definitely hear it in my head. I want to fly. Yeah, Spicy, let's go. Let's go and join Fountain Pen News Hub. For example, I got a brand new Pelican M1000 for $350. Can't bring myself to sell it because I'd never be able to replace it for that price. Yeah, I know. And like, what if you sell it and then you regret it because you want it back? Right? It's like, yeah, I mean, people do it, but I don't know. It's kind of like, first you wouldn't be able to get it for that price, and then also, would you be able to get it, right? Like some pens, it's just like hard to find after you get rid of it, or hard to find like once they sell out too. It's like you have to chase it down if you want it. I need to listen to I recommend the audio. Yeah, totally. If you're into, if you want to listen to it, I totally recommend it. I got it through the library, and also it was like a long wait. But if you get it through Libby, then once in a while they do skip the line. Now I'm just getting in the weeds of it, but sometimes you get skip the line, holds or whatever, and you can take it out, and essentially you have 7 days to read or listen to the book. And so and it's just by chance. So you open up the app and then it's like, oh, a few of your holds are on skip the line, and it's like a 4-leaf clover. So you're lucky that, if you want to take it out for 7 days, you can. And so I did that. And I was like, 7 days to listen to, I think it was like 22 hours of Lord of the Rings. And I was like, let's do this. So I also speed listen, so I don't listen to it like at regular pace. I listen to it at speed pace, but so I had to do that, and it sounded amazing. Like, it was great. So I did that under 7 days. It was fine. Isn't that cool? It's far away from me, but I would fully drive there if I needed a grinder repair. Yeah, it makes sense. Having a place to take your pen to get it worked on. But also, right, like Pen Realm offers pens for sale, nibs, like pre-ground nibs or engraved nibs, etc., right? And pen pouches and stuff like that. So I feel like that's awesome. I can't wait to see how it goes. Yeah, never sell that one. Yeah, I'm leaning towards never sell it. Definitely keep it and, value it. Like, just kind of look at it every once in a while. Be like, yeah, I wish all of you could come to our hub. I wish there was just one hub all of us went to. No. That would be a huge hub. Oh, yeah. Thank you for telling me about Libby. I know sometimes I tell people and they're just like, what? What are you talking about? But if you use Libby and you put books on hold, and you put a lot of books on hold, and some of those books, they have like months of wait time depending on how small, I guess, your library is. But for me, some of them are just like weeks and weeks. And every once in a while, go into the app. You might be lucky. Is Kirk's storefront going to be in Colorado? Yeah, I assume. So cool. We'll definitely have to... I miss everyone. I know. When is the next pen show that we're all going to? Except for fountain pen use. You have your pen show. I would love to go to like different pen shows that are a little bit out of my, like where I kind of have to travel to, I guess. So it's like a trip, make a trip out of it. And probably places like I haven't been to, or where, you can kind of get a feel for like traveling to those places and being a tourist. Touring it a little bit. That would be super fun. Yeah. Now, FOMO over pen shows and meetups for sure. Yeah, I feel like it was probably safe to assume if we weren't sure. So, before I go, I painted on Cosmo Air LIght. This is the Galen leather notebook, which I got a few years ago. So I don't know if they still have these, if they still carry them, because I know Cosmo Air LIght is discontinued. So they probably won't have too many of these. Basically used up inks that I had sitting in vials. And now most of them are done. So I'll probably put like different inks in here. And, enjoy those. But it was really fun. I literally I didn't come up with a palette for this. I kind of went into my container of ink vials and I just picked out the ink vials that really just had a little bit of ink left because, a lot of the water has evaporated or I've used up most of the ink that was in it and stuff. And so I just kind of wanted to empty them out a little bit. And what a fun way to just like explore inks and play with them. Get to know them again, because some of these have just been kind of sitting there and I forgot about them a little bit, which is okay. But yeah, like, see that shimmer, really saturated, really saturated shimmer. Really nice on Cosmo Air Light paper. So we have ghosting, we have a little bit of bleed through, but I really did put down a lot of ink and a lot of water too. So I was really using this paper. And for me, I don't like to paint on the other side of something else, just because with inks and paints, you don't know if something will bleed through. And I would personally just use one side of the paper and just kind of move on. So if it bleeds through or ghosts, I'm totally fine with it. As long as it doesn't like feather, you know what I mean? Like as long as the paper can handle and it can reflect the properties of the ink back properly, the way that it should look, I guess, and doesn't like make it look bad, then I'm totally fine with it. And then I also used the Galen Leather Everyday Book, which is my go-to. It's kind of my sketchbook for ink painting. Uses Tomoe River Paper, and it's standard size, so it's portable, and that's why I like this size. And it also doesn't have a lot of space that I feel overwhelmed that I have to fill it up, and yet somehow I still do with the standard. So but that's fine. Same inks, lots of shimmer, a little bit of blending, and also ghosting, a little bit of bleed through, but nothing that's, too much. That's totally fine. Really, really fun. I actually kind of like how fun the palette is. I guess this wasn't last week. Last week I used watercolor paints in my Cosmo Air Light notebook. because I just wanted to try out these paints. And some of them are shimmer paints, which is really cool. Watercolor shimmer paints. And I just wanted to test out the paints on the paper and just kind of have fun with it. And this paper is amazing. Like, this paper is really nice. And I mentioned before that I don't prefer it for writing just because of, you know, how coated and shiny it is and feels. The texture of it for me is really smooth, and I'm not sure if I could really use it as like a writing notebook. I don't know if I would use it that way. So using it for painting, especially because it's blank, is really fun. So let me just see. Okay. And I think comparison-wise, I don't know. I don't want to say that it seems more vibrant on TRP, just because I think I did this painting first, so I probably used a lot more of the saturated part of the ink, whereas on Cosmo I used a lot more water. So I don't know if it's a fair comparison to really make, but I think both papers handled it really, really well. And it might, just because the texture is smoother on Cosmo, I think the texture of the paint, like the way that it dries, looks a lot more smoother maybe than it does on the TRP. But both handled the inks really well, and they look great. And the shimmer looks amazing on both papers, so... You just answered. Yeah, I did. I like painting on TRP, but I have to admit that painting on Cosmo Air Light is really, really nice. Like, it feels really nice because it's smooth paper. So the paintbrush glides, the ink just sort of sits on top. I don't know. I'm sure there's comparisons about how fast the ink dries on both papers, but for me it felt like maybe it was a little bit slower on Cosmo Air Light, and it could also be just more water content. But yeah, but they both, you know, they take their time drying, because, you know, writing with fountain pen ink is one thing, but when you're painting with it and you're using a lot more, you know, concentrated ink volume, and adding water to it too, it, you know, it sort of sits on the paper as it's trying to dry. It doesn't absorb right away like it would on watercolor paper. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, but I still like it. I love the way that it looks afterwards. It's really, really nice. Shimmers are really pretty too. So yeah, I think some of the ink looks a little bit darker on TRP. Even some of the saturated, like some of these inks where, you know, I used a lot of the ink, it does look to me a little bit darker maybe on TRP, but I don't know. I think they look pretty similar, and, you know, even the pigment ink, you know, they're both pretty vibrant and dark on both papers. Maybe a little darker on TRP, but still really fun. So but I have to run. Thank you so much, friends, for joining. If you were kind of hanging out, or if you were chatting, or if you joined later, and yeah, I will see you next week. I will probably stream on the Wednesday, and we'll talk a little bit more about Pelican Hubs, because I have to figure out what to take. And also we'll probably do currently inked, because it's past mid-month, and I like to kind of have a stock of the fountain pens I've inked and the fountain pens that I have notably inked for the month. So there are some inks that I really wanted to play with this month in my pens, and we'll probably do that next week. So a few things happening. If you're going to the Colorado Pen Show, or any other event or meetup. Have so much fun. And know that I wish I was there. And yeah, let us know how those things go next week. And show us your haul. Share your haul and share your what you enjoyed and what you tried out. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. I'll see you in the other streams for sure. And I'll see you next week. And yeah, thanks so much for joining. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much. I appreciate you as always. I'm Corolla. You can find me on socials as From Corolla. So connect with me, connect with the community. And yeah, I'll see you elsewhere. I'll see you online, and I'll see you next week. Okay, have so much fun, friends. Have a good one. See you later.